Have you ever found yourself sitting at home, maybe sipping a cup of tea, and wondering where all your old pals have gone? Life after 80 can sometimes feel like the world's gotten a little quieter, can it? Maybe the phone doesn't ring as often, or the invitations to get-togethers have slowed down. It's not uncommon to feel a little lonely, and if that's hit you lately, you're not alone. I get it. Making new friends at this stage might sound like a tall order, like trying to plant a garden in the middle of winter. But here's the thing. It's not as hard as it seems, and it can bring a whole lot of warmth back into your days. That's why I'm so glad you're here today. We're going to talk about something that can really brighten things up. How to make new friends after 80, with 6 surprisingly easy ways to beat that loneliness. These aren't complicated tricks or things that'll wear you out. They're simple, doable steps that fit right into your life, and I promise you'll find at least one that feels just right for you. We'll walk through them together, like we're chatting over the kitchen table, and by the end, you'll have some fresh ideas to try out. So, let's dive in and start with something that's probably closer than you think. One of the easiest ways to spark a new friendship is by looking at the people who are already around you every day. Think about it. Maybe there's that neighbor who's always out watering her flowers when you're checking the mail, or the fella at the grocery store who's been bagging your bread and milk for years. These folks aren't strangers, not really. You've seen them enough times that a little hello wouldn't feel out of place. And that's where it starts. Next time you're out there, try a smile and a quick, "How's your day going?" It's not about forcing a big conversation, just a small, friendly moment. I knew a lady named Margaret who started chatting with the cashier at her local market. Just a few words here and there. She'd ask about the busy days or compliment the way the apples were stacked. Over a couple of months, they got to swapping stories about their grandkids. Margaret's boy who'd climb anything he could reach, and the cashier's girl who twirled around in a tutu. Now they meet up for coffee once a week, splitting a scone and catching up. It didn't take much, just a little nudge to turn a familiar face into a friend. And you don't have to stop at one person. Those little hellos can ripple out. Maybe you mention to that neighbor how nice her roses look, and she tells you about the gardening club she goes to on Thursdays. Suddenly, you've got a lead on a whole group of folks who love talking about pruning and petals. My Uncle Fred used to nod at the same dog walker every morning. Just a quick, cute pup. One day, he asked what kind the dog was, and she told him about a little park meetup for pet lovers. Fred didn't have a dog anymore, but he went anyway. And now, he's got a standing date to sit on a bench and chat with a couple of new pals while the dogs romp around. It's funny how one small step can open a door you didn't even know was there. The best part? You're not starting from scratch. You're building on something that's already part of your routine. It's like finding a treasure chest in your own backyard. Now, if chatting up the neighbors feels good, let's take it a step further with something that's been around forever and still works wonders. Joining a group that's all about something you enjoy. I'm talking about those clubs or gatherings where people come together over a shared interest, like cards, books, or even a bit of knitting. You might be thinking, "Oh, I'm not sure I've got the energy for that," and I hear you. But these don't have to be big, exhausting commitments. There's a gentleman I heard about, Tom, who'd always loved a good game of bridge. After his wife passed, he felt that quiet creep in, but he decided to check out a card group at the community center. He didn't know a soul there at first, but the cards gave him something to talk about right away. He'd grin over a tricky hand or ask where someone learned to shuffle so fast. A few weeks in, he wasn't just playing. He was laughing, swapping tips, and even hosting a game night at his place with a big bowl of popcorn on the table. It wasn't about being the most outgoing guy in the room. It was about showing up and letting the rest happen naturally. The beauty of this is that there's something out there for everyone. If cards aren't your thing, maybe it's a choir, a walking group, or even a class on painting. You don't have to be an expert, just curious enough to give it a go. My friend Betty joined a quilting circle years back. Even though her stitches were a bit wobbly, she brought her lumpy first square, and the group cheered her on like she'd won a prize. Now she's got a quilt half done, and 3 ladies she calls every week to talk about patterns in life. When you're surrounded by folks who like the same things you do, the conversation flows without you having to push it. It's like the friendship finds you instead of the other way around. So, whether it's a deck of cards or a paintbrush, there's a little spark waiting to light up your social circle. Now that we've got you thinking about the folks nearby and the groups you could join, let's keep that warmth going with something just as simple. Picture yourself trying one of these out, maybe waving at that neighbor tomorrow or peeking at a club schedule. You're already on your way, and there's more goodness coming to make it feel even easier. We've been talking about how the people right around you and those shared interest groups can open the door to new friendships, and I hope you're feeling a little spark of possibility there. Now, let's ease into something that might sound familiar, but has a special kind of magic after 80, using the power of a good old-fashioned invitation. I know, inviting someone over might feel like a big step, especially if it's been a while since you've had company. But hear me out. It doesn't have to be fancy or fussy. It's about keeping things simple and letting the connection grow from there. Picture this. You've been chatting with that neighbor about her flowers. Or maybe you've swapped a few words with someone at the community center. Next time you see them, you could say something like, "Hey, I was going to make a pot of tea tomorrow afternoon. Would you like to stop by?" That's it. No big production, no need to dust off the fine china. Just a little offer to sit together for a bit. There's a story about a woman named Edith who tried this. She'd gotten to know a lady from her knitting circle, someone who always had a funny quip about drop stitches. One day, she just asked if she'd like to come over and look through some old yarn Edith had stashed in a closet. They ended up spending hours laughing over tangled skeins and bad knitting puns, pulling out colors they hadn't used in years. Now, they're thick as thieves, trading yarn and gossip like it's their job. It started with one small invite, and it grew into something that lights up her week. The trick here is to keep it low pressure, for you and for them. Maybe it's tea, maybe it's sharing a slice of cake you baked, or even asking them to bring a photo of their grandkids to show you. It's less about the what and more about the who. My cousin Lou once invited a guy from his walking group over to see his tomato plants. Nothing fancy, just a couple of pots on the porch. The fella brought a snapshot of his own garden from back in the day, and they spent an afternoon trading tips over lemonade. If they can't make it, no worries. Just smile and say, "Another time then." You're planting a seed, not building a whole forest in one day. Before you know it, that one visit could turn into a regular thing, or maybe they'll invite you back. It's like passing a cup of sugar back and forth until you're real neighbors. And speaking of steps, here's another way to keep that momentum going: offering to help someone out. I'm not talking about anything huge, like moving furniture or fixing a roof. It's the small stuff that counts. Maybe you notice that neighbor struggling with her grocery bags and you say, "Oh, let me give you a hand with those." Or perhaps there's someone at your card group who's fumbling with the rules and you lean over and say, "I had trouble with that one too. Want me to walk you through it?" These tiny acts of kindness are like a warm wave that says, "I'm here." They build trust and make people feel good around you. I heard about a man named Harold who started doing this without even realizing what it'd lead to. He'd see his apartment building's maintenance guy hauling trash bins and offer to hold the door open. It was just a quick thing, grabbing the handle so the guy could roll the bins through. One day, the fella thanked him with a big grin and said, "You're always around when I need an extra hand." They got to talking, and it turned out they both loved old Western movies. John Wayne, Dusty Trails, the works. Now they watch one together every month, popcorn in hand, just because Harold was willing to lend a minute of his time. My Auntie May did something similar. She'd carry an extra umbrella on rainy days and offer it to the lady at the bus stop. One soggy afternoon, they ended up sharing it instead, giggling about the downpour And now, they ride the bus together whenever they're headed downtown. It's funny how helping out can turn into hanging out, isn't it? And the best part is, it feels natural. No awkward small talk required. You're just being you, and that's more than enough. So, whether it's opening your door for a cup of tea or opening a door for someone's trash bin, these little moments stack up. They're like bricks in a path that leads to something warmer, something friendlier. And as these ideas start coming together, there's more warmth waiting just around the corner. All right, we've been chatting about how inviting someone over and lending a hand can light up your days with new faces. And I hope you're starting to see how these little moves can add up to something special. Now, let's take that warmth and carry it into something that's all about sharing a bit of yourself, telling your stories. I'm not saying you need to spill your whole life over coffee, but there's something powerful about swapping a memory or two with someone. After 80, you've got a treasure chest of experiences, and letting a little of that shine can draw people right to you. Think about it. Maybe you're sitting with that person you invited over, and the talk turns to the weather or the price of eggs. You could toss in something simple like, "Oh, this rain reminds me of the time I got stuck in a downpour with my old fishing pole. Ended up laughing more than fishing." It's not a big speech, just a peek into your world. People love that stuff. It's like handing them a thread they can tug on. I knew a fella named George who'd do this all the time. He'd mention a quick tale about his days driving a delivery truck, how he once got lost in a snowstorm with a truck full of bread. Next thing you know, the guy across the table's grinning and saying, "That's like when I hauled hay in '62 and the tractor broke down." Before long, they're swapping yarns like old buddies, passing tales back and forth over a cup of tea. It's not about showing off. It's about giving someone a chance to connect with you. And the beauty of it is, you don't even have to be the loudest voice in the room. Maybe you're at that card group we talked about, and someone mentions a trip they took. You chime in with, "I went somewhere like that once. Nearly lost my hat to the wind." It's a spark, a little bridge between you and them. They might ask how you got it back, or maybe they'll share their own hat-losing moment. Like the time my pal Jim's cap flew off into a lake, and he waded in after it, laughing the whole way. Suddenly, you're not just players at a table. You're folks who've got something in common. Your stories are like keys that unlock those first steps of friendship, and you've got plenty of them tucked away from all those years. Now, as you're sharing those bits and pieces, there's one more way to wrap this all up that's so easy, it almost feels like cheating, smiling and listening. I know, it sounds basic, but stick with me. When you're talking with someone new, whether it's that neighbor, the knitting circle lady, or the guy you helped with his bags, give them a warm smile and really hear what they're saying. Nod along. Maybe toss in a, "Oh, that's something," or "I can't believe it." People light up when they feel like you're right there with them. There's a woman named Clara who figured this out late in life. She wasn't one for big crowds, but she'd sit at her church socials with a big grin, asking folks about their gardens or their pets. She'd lean in when they talked about their roses or their cat's latest antics, and she'd listen like they were the only person in the room. Soon enough, people were saving her a seat every week, bringing her little cuttings from their yards to share. She didn't have to chase friends. They came to her. It's like this. Your smile says, "I'm glad you're here," and your ears say, "You matter." Combine that with those stories you've shared, and you're not just another face. You're someone they'll remember. Maybe they'll think, "That nice lady who laughed about her fishing trip, she really listened when I told her about my grandkids' school play." That's the glue that turns a chat into a connection. So, here we are, with these 6 ways weaving together like a cozy blanket. Starting with the folks nearby, joining a group, inviting someone in, helping out, sharing your stories, and topping it off with a smile and a good listen. It's not about changing who you are or running yourself ragged. It's about small, simple things that fit into your life, right where you're at. You've got everything you need to beat that loneliness, and I bet you'll find it feels pretty good to try. If you've got a story of your own about making a friend, Or maybe you give one of these a whirl. Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear how it goes. And if this struck a chord with you, give the video a like and hit that subscribe button. We've got more ideas coming to help you live your best life, no matter your age. Here's to new friends and brighter days. You deserve every bit of it.